Hey guys, so today I'm here to do my December wrap-up. I read 12 books in December, which is really good because I've been off school, so that's great that I got 12 done. I'm at 97 books for my reading challenge. That's probably all I'm going to do, so I'm going ahead and filming this wrap-up. But yeah, I can't believe I read 97 books this year. And I can't believe this year's already over. It's crazy. But yeah, this month was kind of... I read 12 books, but a lot of them I really wasn't a fan of, which usually doesn't happen. I actually only gave one of these books 5 stars, which is weird. But yeah. There's a lot of 4.5s, but there was also a lot of 3s, which for me is kind of a low rating. But let's go ahead and get started. So the first book I read in December was Point of Retreat by Colleen Hoover. This was my favorite book of the month. I gave it a 5 out of 5 stars. It's a sequel to Slammed. I don't know how she does it, but Colleen Hoover just, the way she writes, I have yet to be disappointed by one of her books. It was from the male love interest perspective, which I wasn't expecting, but I actually really liked hearing from his perspective. And there's like crazy things happen, and it's just so good. If you have not picked up Colleen Hoover, I would highly recommend it, especially with this trilogy. The next book I picked up was This Girl by Colleen Hoover. This is the 3rd book in the Slam trilogy, but it's kind of more of a companion, I guess. It's kind of a sequel, like they talk about events that are happening, but they're like, you know, flashing back to what happened in the first book, and I kind of wish I had waited a little bit to read it, because I had just read Slammed not too long before, so it was kind of like hearing the same events over and over again. But I really enjoyed the extra parts, and I really did enjoy hearing from Will's perspective. And the whole time I was reading this, I was thinking it's probably going to be a 4, but that epilogue was so great, so I gave it a 4.5 out of 5. The next book that I read was Broken Hearts, Fences, and Other Things to Mend by Katie Finn, who's also Morgan Matson. This is the first book I've read under the Katie Finn pen name, and I really enjoyed it. I did have a problem with it. It was very predictable. I pretty much knew what was going on from the beginning, but it was just so much fun, and I just love Morgan Matson and Katie Finn's characters. This book is a summery contemporary, so I would definitely recommend reading it in the summer. I read it obviously in December, but you know, whatever. But yeah, it follows a girl who goes to visit her dad in, like, in a beach town, I think. Yeah. And she meets up with a girl who she was friends with when she was little. And I really enjoyed this, and I gave it a 4.5 out of 5. And the next book that I read in December was House of Hades by Rick Riordan. This is the 4th book in the Heroes of Olympus, which is a continuation of Percy Jackson. And I must say, I'm not enjoying this series as much as everyone else is. It's just, the books are so long, and I feel like they've just been dragged out for so long, but I enjoyed it for the most part. There were certain parts that I loved and certain parts that I hated. It was kind of just mixed. I didn't like it any better than any other books I read. My favorite so far in the series is Son of Neptune. I gave this a 4 out of 5, maybe more like 3.75 out of 5. The next book that I picked up was Bittersweet by Sarah Auckler. This follows a girl named Hudson who was a figure skater, and her parents divorced, and she kind of dropped the whole figure skating thing because her dad was the main person who was encouraging her to do figure skating, and he left, and so she's a baker at her mom's diner, and it just follows, she starts skating again, and it's a really good story, and I definitely recommend it. I gave it like a 4 to 4.5 out of 5 stars. The next book that I read was the first book I read for the Christmas book Tubathon, and this was The Cutting Room 4 by Dawn Clare. This fit the challenge of a read a book that was gifted to you. I must say I was rather disappointed with this book. I got it at a book signing. It's signed by the author, and so I didn't really know too much about it, but it sounded really interesting. It sounded like a murder mystery, but the murder mystery aspect was really not that strong, and I felt like it was very, like, random. Like, there was just a lot of stuff going on that just kind of, I don't know, and I wasn't really a huge fan of the characters. I think my favorite part was the murder mystery aspect, but even that, it was just, I don't know. I felt like by the end I didn't really care about it anymore. I gave it a 3 out of 5 stars. The next book I read was also for the Christmas book Tubathon, and that was Meant to Be by Lauren Morrill. This follows a girl named Julia who is on a school trip to London, and she's partnered up, like they have buddies on the trip, and she's partnered up with the guy that she does not like. Then she starts getting texts from a phone number from a guy she met at a party, and she's trying to find him. And this book, I had mixed feelings about it. I loved the setting. I loved that it was set in London, but I really wasn't a fan of the main character or the guy character. I don't know. I kind of figured out what was going on, too, but it was enjoyable, but it wasn't my favorite, and I gave it a 3.5 out of 5. The next book that I read was Of Neptune by Anna Banks. This is the third book in the Serena Legacy series. It's a series about mermaids, or sirens, I guess. And I really was disappointed with this conclusion. I know people say that it definitely is, it doesn't even feel like it's a part of the other two books. It's not set in the ocean. And it's just, I don't know, I felt it was just, like, unnecessary to have this third book. Like, it was just like they created all these new problems that weren't really very interesting to me. But the epilogue was really good. I think the epilogue pretty much saved it. And I gave this, like, a 3, maybe 3.25 out of 5 stars. And the next book that I read took me, like, the entire month to read, and that was Atlantia by Ali Condi. This was definitely the most disappointing book I read this whole year. I love Ali Condi. She wrote the Match trilogy, which is one of my favorite trilogies. And this book, it was different than what I was expecting. I thought it was mermaids. It's not really mermaids. It's more like sirens, but they're like humans in it, and it's just, I don't know. It's about this girl named Rio who lives in an underwater kingdom, and she's a siren, and her sister goes up to, like, the surface to live in the normal, like, on land and stuff. I love Ali Condi's writing style, but I was just really not connected with the characters at all. I don't know. I really just didn't enjoy it. There were some parts that I kind of liked, but it was just not my cup of tea, and I gave it a 2.5 out of 5 stars. And after that, I read, like, 4 mediocre books in a row, and that, like, never happens to me. So I had to pick up Hopeless by Colleen Hoover. Colleen Hoover she's great. This was actually probably my least favorite of hers I've read. It was still amazing, but I don't know. I didn't like the main guy, Dean. I wasn't really, like, the biggest fan of him. He was okay, but he wasn't like Will from Slammed. This book follows a girl named Sky who she's been homeschooled her whole life. She doesn't have TV or internet or cell phone or anything, but her senior year she convinces her mom to let her go to public school, and she meets a guy named Dean, and yeah, things happen. But yeah, it was really good though. I gave it a 4.5 out of 5, and I definitely recommend Colleen Hoover. She's great. And the next book that I read was Between the Spark and the Burn by April Genevieve Tucholk. This is the sequel to Between the Devil and the Deep Blue Sea, and the conclusion to this duology. And I was kind of disappointed with this. I just wasn't really invested in the story, and I don't know. It was just kind of, I felt like really random at some points. It's kind of a really weird story. But yeah, I gave it a 3.5 out of 5. And the last book I read in December was Dead Silence by Kimberly Durting. This is the 4th book in the Body Finder series and the conclusion to the series. I finished a lot of series this month, which was really good. This was pretty good. It wasn't my favorite in the series. The first one's still my favorite. I felt like the ending was really, like, abrupt. Like, there was really not much resolution to it. The murder was resolved, but, like, the romance aspects were not really resolved. But I still enjoyed it, and I gave it a 4 out of 5 stars. So that's all the books that I read in the month of December. I hope you enjoyed it, and I will see you again next time. Goodbye!